Township Board meeting for March the 9th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Please take roll call.
Bob Palma.
I'm here.
Patty Back.
Here.
Shelley Kidd.
Here.
Jim Christopher.
He's excused, right?
Yes.
Gina Mazzarelli.
Here.
Okay. So everybody received a copy of today's agenda, and if so, are there any comments or questions on it? It looks okay to me to read the last one.
It's fine.
If not, a motion
I have
to
a
approve as
motion
submitted.
to approve as submitted.
Is there a second?
I'll support.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it's approved. And you should have copies of the agenda for February 10th for both the township and the fire board, and then the February 12th budget workshop. I've also reviewed those. Are there any questions or comments from anybody on those?
Yeah.
Okay. If not,
I'll motion to accept the special, yeah, Gina has some.
Well, I just,
Sorry.
we ended the meeting, kind of open-ended the meeting, and I don't see that in the minutes.
Open.
Well, we did, yeah, we weren't able to completely finish. You guys were going to collaborate and finish up, and I didn't see that in the meeting.
For the fire department? Because we were
oh,
done.
no,
tonight.
no,
Yeah.
we had gone through it. What it was is I asked Patty to take the changes that we discussed in the meeting
Okay,
and correct it on the, what she's done for
Okay.
tonight. Just,
okay,
and that's typically how
And
we do it.
that's
We
how-
go, yeah, I submit a rough draft for the budget. We
Okay.
talk about it, decide what needs to be changed in it, and then Patty will chew that up for tonight's meeting. So
got it, okay.
that's okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Next item on the agenda is financials, budget amendments. Patty, you got it?
There are some budget amendments, but it is the end of the year, so Ken generally helps out whatever we do with those, or when he gives us his recommendations. But the expenses were, the accounts payables were a total of $13,902.87 for the 206 fire fund.
Excuse me, I don't have that packet.
This, can you share with?
I don't know if I got it on here.
I don't know.
It's,
I got the new
third
one
page,
last
third
night.
page in. Yeah, should be third page in on the original.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, here.
All right. Yeah, it wasn't any.
Okay.
Got it?
Yep.
Where
Use
you-
yours. Use yours. It's okay.
Okay. And then for the township, $17,294.70. And the 701, which is the trust and agency where money comes in and it sits there until the project is done, so on and so forth. We paid $1,762.89 back out of that. Or not back to the person, excuse me. We paid probably the lawyer, or the attorney, or engineering, something. And the total for the general fund is $19,057.66. So, that was a thick packet, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Okay. Make a motion to approve those bills.
Yep, I'll motion to approve the bills as submitted.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? Carrie, would you take a roll call on it?
Patty Back.
Yes.
Shelley Kidd.
Yes.
Gina Mazzarelli.
Yes.
Bob Palma.
Yes. So that was for accounts payable. There were no amendments on it?
No.
Okay.
It's the end of the year. I'll take a look at them with Ken and see what we want to do.
Okay, anything you want to report on financials for the general fire and building?
Nope.
Okay. Investment reports?
Okay, investments are doing very well. I did submit a revised Cash on hand report. Pardon?
Those are not the stock market.
Yes.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I'm cleaning out, I just cleaned out one of our bank accounts and moved it into a more liquid account, and that seems to be doing very well with higher interest rates.
Okay,
Everything seems to be going good.
okay, very good. All right, next is public hearing. We have to discuss the Appropriations Act. Patty, do you want to go through that for 2020, 2021?
Yeah, do you want to open the public hearing?
Yeah, I'll open the public hearing at 7:07.
So the Appropriations Act is what the township runs off of for their budget for the year. And every year we put one together and it's taken from our budget meeting. So it's pretty much, we have the, there are a few over there. It's kind of hard to follow, but basically it tells what the budget's going to be. Starts with
Haven't you done this?
All right, I'll do it. This explains what we're going to do for the year, basically. Okay? For estimated revenues, the dollar numbers aren't here, but basically what it really deals with is we established the fire millage and the township's general operating millage.
Right.
And we reduced the operating millage last year to .9646, which is the lowest it's ever been. And when we get the tax implications, we're going to have to decide for this year. What's that one?
L42.
Okay, and then the fire millage was reduced to 3.8005 on the renewal. We're going to do it at 5 mils, we said, so you know, which is what we had promised that year. And 3.5, I'm sorry, 3.5 mils.
Maybe I should-
It'll actually be 3.8005, but it'll be billed at 3.5 mils for the first year. The rest of this is basically just an explanation of some of the things that take place, paying the bills. You can read it, it's kind of dry, cut and dry. We just go through the various different funds that are in there, what their objectives are. It says that establishes the raises for this year that were approved at the budget meeting, which was 2%. And it talks about the fact that we also have some part-time positions and what the positions are in here. And then it talks about different things that we might be doing in various different accounts. For example, under the general fund, some of the things that are mentioned are the money that they get from the health reimbursement account to take care of their health insurance for the employees is tied directly to the state's guidelines for it. And that number is adjusted once a year in January, and that number is reflected in this report. We talk about the chloride treatments, and at the budget meeting, we either have to pick 4 or 5 chloride treatments a year. We get some people that say they only want 4, we get some that say they want 5, but most of the time, the people prefer 5 or it gets kind of dusty. And at the budget session, we said we'd do 5 again. And of course, in the case of Groveland Township, the township pays for all the chloride. Not all the townships do that, but we do. And then we also talked about graveling the roads. If you recall, last year, we didn't do any graveling on the roads because the cost of the gravel went way up last year. And the reason for that is, with all the road projects that MDOT has approved, most of the suppliers for road gravel had decided we're just going to supply it to MDOT. It's easier and they make more money out of it. So we canceled our order last year. We usually do 3 miles a year. This year they said it's not going up anymore, but it's up about to around $24.50 a ton. It takes about 1,800 tons to do 1 mile. So you do the math and you're looking at about $270,000 or $80,000 roughly to do 3 miles of road. So we didn't do any last year. What we're doing this year is taking some money from the infrastructure fund and we're going to agree to do 6 miles. And we had put that into the preliminary budget discussion, and then I had a lengthy discussion with Barry at Bedrock, and he has got a source that's mixing 22 and 23A road mix to spec, that he can get it for us, and he can do the gravel for about $200,000. So it's roughly a $70,000 savings from what we originally had anticipated. Now, I can tell the road commission gets a little antsy because they like to use whoever they've got because they coordinate the chloride spray right after they do it. But we've done this once before with Bedrock, and back then we were getting gravel for about $6 a ton, okay? But we only got it for a year or two and it was gone. He can get enough for us for this year to do 6 miles, so we don't want to let the roads get in bad shape. We generally go to the road foreman out here. He tells us which sections of road he thinks are the worst, which ones need the most gravel. We only pay for the ones that are on secondary roads. The road commission themselves always decides on a primary road like Groveland or right now Barron or Wildwood, any of those. They gravel them at their expense, not us. So we're going to do 6 miles this year. It looks like we should be able to get it for about 70 grand less than what we originally anticipated. We've diverted some funds from the township to help the fire department out, which is roughly about 40 grand of township funds that are diverted, and they were mostly, if I remember, all of the Camp Tamarack money from the contract, the money from the DNR, and the keep hold from the personal property tax, I think it is that you get. So that's kind of all outlined in here. The rest of the other stuff's pretty cut and dried. We get some money from the road commission every year for tri-party funds, which is a program that Oakland County Roads does, where they say the road commission puts in a third of it, the county puts in a third of it, the township has to put in a third of it. Right now, it's about $58,000 a year. We have used all of it up to this point when we did the projects like Fripp Road that had to be redone, because that was very expensive. What I've suggested and the board agreed in the budget session is that we're going to hold the money we have this year and add it to next year's money, because next year we're going to try and go back to doing 3 miles of road again. And if I can still get it at the price from Barry, putting 2 tri-party years together will help us cover a significant amount of it, so that hopefully we won't have to tap into any infrastructure money next year. There's some discussion about some new PCs and a couple of funds that we don't have anymore with the new HRA. Some of the old health funds that had been lingering there are gone, so they're just going to be split between the township and fire department to help their funding on it. We have ordered a new actuarial, I can't remember the company now. CBIZ for the retirement funding on the fire department, because we know that the number that's on there is woefully inadequate, but we didn't want to pay for another analysis if we had finished adopting the new benefits on January 1, so that's in the middle as well. Most of this other stuff, it's the day-to-day things that all get done. You're welcome to look at it, but it outlines the money that's in there and basically where it's going. Those are probably the most significant parts, I think, of this. It's about 7 or 8 pages. I think there's some over there that were prepared for you. So with that, if you have any questions, public hearing, so we'll try and answer any questions if you have any.
Quick question on the primary versus the secondary road, just to clarify for the graveling project, you said the primary roads would be done by the road commission.
And they make the decisions on it. So if it's Groveland Road, Oak Hill Road, Wildwood Road, Barron Road, or that little piece of band that goes off of the second curve out of the county,
Okay.
those are the primary roads.
Okay.
And so if they need any gravel, the road commission makes the decision on any given year, and really we're not involved in those at all. And they gravel them at their expense.
Okay. Do they typically, is it standard practice to regrade the road before they actually facilitate relaying it with new gravel?
Well, I think it depends on, I don't want to give you a carte blanche answer because I'm not sure it's that cut and dry.
Right.
If the road's in bad shape, I think they would grade it before they do it. They're trying to drop roughly about 3 inches of gravel on it.
Okay.
Usually what happens when they get the road ready is they drop the gravel right from the trucks, and if you get a good driver, it comes out almost perfectly spread out of the back of the truck. Behind that guy might be the grader for any dressing they need, and then usually the chloride truck tries to do it that day or the next day, otherwise it gets very dusty. So, but all of that, they print some schedules on the road commission's website. If you go to it, you can get to it on one of the buttons on the township website, but they'll tell you things like, if we're going to do chloriding 5 times a year, here's the tentative dates we do it, but they're never ironclad because they can't know for sure whether or not it's going to rain when they print that.
Sure.
If it rains a little bit, they do the chloride anyway. They say that it actually gets into the dirt a little bit better.
Really?
If it rains really hard, they don't do it because it gets like soup and washed away. But all of that's on their website as close as they can.
Okay.
One garage, Davison, does 4 townships out here. Us, Holly, Rose, and Springfield are all handled out of the same garage. And the way they do it is 1 year, I don't know what year it is this year, but 1 year Groveland will get their grading and chloriding first. The next year Holly will be the first one. The year after that, Rose will be the first one. The year after that, Springfield, and they start the whole thing over again. Okay. Any other questions?
For that money for Barry selling the gravel to us, does he supply the grader or is this coordinated with the road commission?
The road commission's still gotta do the grading and the chloriding. Barry's just gonna be the haul truck that dumps it as he goes. Yeah. Anything else? Okay, if not, I'll close the public meeting at 7:18. Okay? So, do we need to do something to formally approve this appropriations? Penny, I can't remember right now.
Well, we do need a motion. Does anybody have any questions before we?
Ask them. So, we need a motion to approve it then.
Yeah. I have a couple of things first. Shelley, I know we talked this morning about where you were balanced. And I know that you're balanced through January with general. On the fire, you're back to October. So my only thought is, when we make the motion, I think we should leave some room in there that maybe this may have to come back for some adjustments, should it not?
Yes,
You
because
know,
there's some
yes.
funds that I'm having difficulties
Okay.
locating.
So if we go ahead and approve this, and we find out we have to make some adjustments in it, it will come back to a board meeting to be resubmitted and amended. Okay, and then
That's
I,
only with the foot.
Yeah.
Fire.
yes. And then, since you and I are supposed to be in agreement, if you could just give me a copy of the statements and your reconciliation.
Absolutely.
We'll just follow that, so
Okay.
we've got it all,
All right.
okay?
Yep.
Okay.
I was actually gonna ask for a budget meeting, another budget meeting, so that we could all sit down and be on the same page as to where we're sitting, because I'm not comfortable having year end at the end of this month and having to turn everything in, and I still don't have some answers.
Well, as far as the financial report, I mean, all the numbers, they are correct except for locating or finding where some adjustments may need to be made in the fire department. But the 701, 401, 249, 101, are all
Oh, those
covered.
are
So
correct.
everything else is
Just the fire
balanced
department.
today,
Everything, yes, that-
except for fire.
yes.
We'll let Kevin pick up the slack.
Well, he doesn't do that, so.
But he will.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
So again, I'm really not comfortable calling it year end and turning things over
Oh,
for
that's-
an audit, but
Well, as Patty and I just discussed, we'll go over it.
okay. And I would be more comfortable, even more comfortable having it once Jim is back too, so that, again, we need to all be on the same page. Because there's some gray areas that I'm just not comfortable with. I don't work that way. If I can't finish it, I don't turn it in. So we either get another budget meeting, or I really, yeah, I want to
Well,
wait.
why don't we wait, when you get the fire budget done, we'll discuss
So
it.
Teresa and I are going to
Yeah.
be sitting down this week, correct?
Okay, we get done, we can add it into something. Okay, all right, we got that? Okay, next item on the agenda is, this came in late last week. It's discuss the funding on Bald Eagle Lake Drain, and I had hoped to have the email from the Water Resource Department that called me on it, so I saved my scratch note, just to let you know. But here's the situation. Up to now, Groveland Township's only had one Oakland County drain in the township, and it's called the Pattison Drain. It starts across from my house and Vandeputty's pond in the front yard there. And it runs east along Groveland Road on those parcels, and then it turns up Croup Road, and it eventually ends up in Genesee County. It's an old chapter 4 drain. They don't do them anymore. Most of them were done way back when this was farming territory, and that's why a lot of times if you dig up your acreage, like I used to think I had a spring in my back pasture. Turns out I had a 4-inch farmer's crock in there that cracked over the years, shifted, and it kept on bubbling out of the ground. Those were all set up to drain acreage for the farmers down to a road somewhere and then into a ditch and eventually out of the county. On those, when they do maintenance on them, they generally don't do chapter 4s anymore, but on those, when they do maintenance, if you live in the flood area for that drain, for example, the Pattison drain's not actually on my house, but my property runs downhill across Groveland Road and into Bandaputty's Pond, at least some of it does. So I'm considered a part of the watershed for the drain. Everybody that's in that watershed gets billed some kind of money when they do a project to clean or repair that drain. So if you live on that drain or in the watershed to that drain, you periodically get something on your property tax from the Water Resource Department that says, here's your charge. You probably get it too.
Yeah, Pattison.
Yeah, sometimes it's, $10 and sometimes it's nothing. And if you have a lot of acreage, like a gentleman up on Croup Road that gets about 40 acres of his farm flooded, I think he gets somewhere around $800 when they do it, okay? So they calculate all that and bill it out. Well, that's the only drain we've ever had, and it doesn't get billed every year. What happened is the people that live on Bald Eagle Lake in Brandon Township said they were concerned that one of the culverts that drains some of the water around the lake got plugged up and was causing some problems, and they asked the drain commissioner to come out and see if he could clean it and fix it. So they said, yeah, okay, we'll do a project on it, and it's an old type 4 drain in Brandon, but we have to bill everybody in it. And then they looked at their records and realized that, oh, we didn't ever do this one the right way. It should have had everybody that was in the flood basin for it build something. And they didn't do it that way. They were only building the homes in Brandon on Bald Eagle Lake Road, on Bald Eagle Lake. So they went back and said there's actually 5 pieces of property in Groveland that are in what they call that watershed. The biggest one, I believe, belongs to Consumer Power, and they're gonna get billed $2,700. Someone else has got a large piece that's gonna be billed $2,100, and then there's 3 other ones that get $600 to $800 for this repair they're doing. But they also look at it and say, well, when we calculate that, some of the land that is in that flood basin or watershed, is actually Groveland Townships because it's either got the roads or whatever on it. We're getting 0.4% of the cost of the repair to that drain. Okay, so we're going to get billed about $3,400 is their estimate for our piece of that drain. There's really nothing we can do about it. It's just the way it is, and according to them, we probably should have been billed from day one when they put the drain in for Bald Eagle Lake, but they didn't. And so I'm letting you know because today I think we have to prove paying whatever that chapter 4 drain is when we get the bill. I had hoped to have the letter by today's meeting. It's a good thing I saved my little sticky note for it. It wouldn't have all the information on it, but there's only 5 parcels and a piece of it that we have to pay 0.4% of the total job. So you can see the majority of this job is all billed to the homes that are around Bald Eagle Lake Road in Brandon. Okay,
Did
Bald
they
Eagle
say
Lake.
that was maybe part of the reason of the washout?
That one that we had, no, I don't think that had anything to do with it. That was just somebody's drain, I think. We have a lot of those culverts that periodically fail, and when they do, the road caves in on them and they make a big mess. I don't think it had anything to do with this. That was actually kind of off of, I think, Lynch Lake, really. But anyway, I wanted to let everybody know, because we're going to get billed roughly $3,400. It might be a little more, a little less when they send it out. The 5 property owners have all been notified by the Oakland County Drain Commissioner's office, so they all know about it. And I haven't had anybody call and ask, because they've never been billed before, but we need to, I think, make a motion today to approve paying our assessment for the Bald Eagle Lake drain repairs from the Oakland County Water Resource Commissioner, and it should be in the area of $3,400.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion. That's a long way around it, but that's what my motion is.
Okay, support that.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Nope,
Okay.
but I would like to, finish.
Okay. Take a roll call, please, Carrie, because it's $3,400. Give or take.
Shelley
what
Kidd?
the bill is.
Yes.
Gina Musarelli,
Yes.
Bob DiPalma,
Yes.
Patty Back.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, you want to say something?
Yes, I want to step back to what Gina said as far as the accounts. There are a couple adjustments that still need to be made in the 401 and the 702.
So do you understand why?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
So I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
Okay, good. Next item on it is to discuss the TIA, Traffic Improvement Association. This comes once a year. You have a letter that we get from TIA. Traffic Improvement Association is kind of the go-to resource that everybody in the state, I think, uses for collecting traffic data and accidents. All the U-10s, I think it is, for traffic accidents go through the state police, get funneled to TIA. We have used them in the past to help us on a couple of things, like with the light at Oak Hill and Oakwood in 15. They are very good people. It's a nominal fee. It's $200 a year. We've always paid it, and I am recommending that we pay it again this year because they've been a good, valuable resource.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion.
I will second.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question. So once they collect the data, when do we get it? Because I know they have it on Oak Hill and 15.
They do it when you ask them for a specific project. So for example, if we were to try and eventually get a light at the Hall Road by the viaduct on Grange Hall Road at I-75,
Okay.
which, if you don't know, that is the most unsafe spot in the whole township, is going over that viaduct. Although sometimes, depending on the way the state police fill out the report, they might write it as Holly on the one side and Groveland on the other side, and I don't think they really pay that much attention to which side they're, I'm just telling you, that viaduct is the most unsafe place in the township. So, and we have talked in the past about asking for a light, except that the road commissioner gets apoplectic when I ask, because he said, that's $1 million project and you're not getting it. Okay, so I think we would have to be able to ascertain some data from TIA, and the way you would get it then, you would say, we want to do a traffic study on TIA, can you pull all that data out and help us put it together? And they would do that at no charge for us. So
For the
that's
$200 that we pay.
for the $200, yeah. So that's when we would get it. You ask them usually for a specific project, and then they go back and try and pull all the data, all the UD10s that they can out of from state police on that, and straighten that out so that you can use it as some kind of meaningful stuff. And generally speaking, when you go back to the road commission, their information is considered among the best you can get and very helpful in making decisions for changes on traffic facilities. I've used them a couple other times too, I think on, wasn't it Ken, did we put a sign over on Dixie Highway southbound on Dixie to make sure people weren't making turns on the Grange Hall, right? Yeah, and that, I think they helped us on that one, because the original requirements, it doesn't meet the requirements, but we said, when they come off of Grange Hall Road from this side of the road, you can't see them until they get up on Dixie Highway, and there were all kinds of people complaining about brakes squealing and near accidents and misses, and so they were helpful in that one too.
Weren't they on Oakwood too, at Beacon?
Yeah, that's the one
When we
where
got the sign.
I took one on the white for the team. I get extra points for it.
He gave you an extra job while you were gone too, by the way.
That's why you don't come late for meetings.
That's right. So, okay, so I made the motion, you seconded it, and can you take a roll call vote on it, Carrie?
Gina Musarelli,
Yes.
Bob DiPalma,
Yes?
Patty Back,
Yes.
Shelley Kidd.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, let's see, the next one on the agenda is West Nile. Just to let everybody know, there will be bug spray again this year. They approved the West Nile virus again, and of course, in order to get that money, we have to send somebody, and I think it's Teresa that's going, right?
Whatever you say.
See, I was here this time.
It's, it's really kind of, I don't wanna say a waste, but after you've been to about 7 of them, you kinda know what they're gonna say. The problem is, they will not give the municipality the money if you don't have somebody go there and sign in. So Teresa's offered to do it, because I think I had something else that they could
Is this the same group that gives the township residents their
do. Bug
Bug
spray.
spray.
spray?
Once we get that, you know, there's a process we have to go through and order it. She gets all that when you go to the meeting. They'll tell you, we have to send them that we've approved certain things that are okay to be bought with that. And once we have that, we will put it out on the sign again, so people will know. But I can tell you, around April, they'll start saying, is the bug spray here yet? Because they do
What you got?
every year.
That worked out well.
Okay, IT right, Patty, you want to do this number F here, the Windows 70 security update?
Yep.
Item F?
So Brent's computer that sits just across from the desk here where we take taxes and things, he uses that to do the, program the sign, update the website, Facebook, all those things. And it needs a Windows 7 extended security update. And a one-time fee, and it's good for a year, is $50 to do that. So we also want to use that computer for any residents that want to come in and fill out the census on it. And the trustees, I did get them email and addresses. We did already have them in the system, so they can come in and use those. And you can also have it sent to your own phone under your email, or the township email. And so I think that it's well worth the $50 to update it. So my motion is that we update the computer, Windows 7 extended security updates, one-time fee, good for a year, of $50. That's my motion.
Second?
I have a second.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board?
I know we talked about updating people to 10 as well.
Yes.
Did you get?
We did that that was in the Appropriations Act.
Okay.
So, no, I haven't talked to anybody about any of that type. However, there was one other, I did talk to IT Right also, and switched a lot of passwords around or emails and got updated passwords for some and utilized that. And they also can change our passwords should something happen and nobody knew how to get into my computer, and they can go in and do a one-time password change, and then when I come back, if I come back, they can change that over. So that, it's not just sitting there and all those emails are going into it, and a lot of stuff's not being picked up because, we can't get into a computer, and that's for any of us. And
We should have a central repository at IT, right?
yes, and I
For all of
believe
our
they do.
passwords, okay.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Well, all the information belongs to the township. so
Yeah, if
everybody
something
should
happens,
have-
somebody's not here, you still gotta be able to
Yeah,
get
you still
stuff
have
out
to be
there.
able to get to it.
Yes, we have to function.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
before? You said that's Windows 7?
Yeah,
Why aren't we using 10?
that was part of what's in the, to update Bob's computer in his office
Does that surprise
and
you? Mine's
Windows
not.
10. And Windows 10. We did have to do, I think mine's updated to Windows 10. Shelley, was yours?
I believe mine.
Because they're not
is.
supporting Windows 7 anymore.
No,
I'm
they're
sure.
not. And
The
we
only
had to
reason mine
get,
is all I use it for is emails.
The computer that Patty's referring to is if somebody wants to come in and just do
Right.
census or,
It doesn't cost to update to 10, does it? Why didn't we update
I don't know,
that?
we could, I'd be happy to
I
look
don't
into
think it is.
that.
I think, I did mine at home for free.
I'm not sure if we would need a new computer there.
Oh, it's not
Maybe it's
strong
worth
enough?
it. I don't know. It might be
Brent's
outdated.
stuff is different than all of ours, and actually, to be honest with you, Rod, until Brent tells me he needs something to make something work on a cable channel, we don't do anything with
Okay.
it.
It also depends on which version of 10 you're upgrading to. If you do Pro, yeah, there is a charge. If it's just
Okay.
like the regular basic, no, there's not a charge.
And
Okay,
typically,
I'll-
Brent tells me when I need something because they changed something on one of the software packages, I can't get it, and I leave it up to him. So his may be
Because
more out of date than mine.
Yeah. I know that's why, the election computers, we had to update those. And that was part of the reason why. And we couldn't update the old ones. They were just outdated, they told us, the computers, so.
Is there a fee for them being the keeper of the passwords and issuing?
They didn't
that-
seem to,
That's already in the
Tell me.
contract.
It's
with-
in there,
It's in the
yes,
contract.
awesome.
As of right now, I'm the administrator. If somebody just needs it done, I can go in and take care of it. But if I'm not there, if somebody needs it done, I can't. IT has the information also.
Okay.
right. And we have had to use that before, I know when Dave was here, Shelley never.
Do you want a motion then for the IT update?
Yes,
when
I'll
it's
make
up?
the motion to update Brent's computer, for the Windows 7 extended security updates, one-time fee, good for 1 year, $50.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Carrie, would you take roll call?
Bob DiPalma.
Yes.
Patty Back.
Yes,
Shelley Kidd.
Yes.
Gina Musarelli.
Yes.
Okay. One thing we need to go back and recapture that I just realized.
okay.
Item A on the road discussion was the chloride of 4 or 5, and we agreed at the budget hearings to do 5 like we usually do. But I think we need to do a separate motion so I could send the paperwork back to Oakland County's Road Commission to make sure.
Is that your motion?
Yes, that is.
I will second.
Okay.
That was the chloride we're going back to?
Yeah.
Yes, for 5
5
applications. So I made the motion, Shelley seconded it. Could you take a roll call, because that costs us.
Patty Back.
Yes.
Shelley Kidd.
Yes.
Gina Musarelli.
Yes.
Bob DiPalma.
Yes, thank you. Okay, next one is an item that came up when we were talking to Chief Mason about getting our safer grant in, and just for historical purposes, when I first came here, the township used to only allow appropriations of $100. And it was kind of cumbersome, especially for the fire department. I don't think there's anything you guys buy
Nothing's 100.
that's $100. I don't think there's anything we buy that's $100 anymore. So 20-some years ago, we made a motion and adopted the procedure and changed it to a $1,000 limit. If it's $1,000 or less, you can make a decision to do it. If it's more than 1,000 or 1,000 or more, it has to come to the board for a decision. And we did that. I remember, I think it was Maryland that asked for it originally because it was so cumbersome doing it at $100. And we did it, but nobody could seem to find the actual document that did it 20-some years ago. And Chief Mason's turning in the paperwork for the SAFER grant. One of the things they wanted is a procurement policy. So Patty wrote up the procurement policy to do just what I explained to you. And we would like to adopt that today so that we've got a current copy of it on hand. And then Kevin can use it for his SAFER grant application.
Now, wasn't it 500 a couple years ago?
No, it was
No,
it's probably 20,
Been 1,000 as long as I've been
it's
there.
probably been 22 or 3 years, because that was one of the first things we fixed, because Marilyn came in and said, I had to come every time I had to spend $100, and even 24 years ago, you can't get anything in the fire department for $100, so.
Perry loves $100. Fire does.
Jeremy, you
Yeah.
remember that.
So, we did it, nobody could seem to find it in the minutes, so we're doing it again.
And it wasn't actually the greatest week, or 2 weeks to do it with the election, but yeah,
So,
it's done.
Patty has it written up, do you want to make the motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we approve the updated expenditure control procurement policy.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? All in favor, say aye. We're not actually spending the money on this.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, it's done. That's fixed. Next, Patty, this item H is yours also.
Teresa Bill, oh no, we're going to Danielle next. So Danielle applied and asked for the full-time building, planning, and zoning job. We had hired her to be part-time, and when 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later it came up, she asked if she could move in there, and she had been working with Carrie a bit in that anyway over those 2-3 weeks. So I'd like to motion that we hire Danielle Wilcock at $24,000 a year with 500 bump up pays 6 months apart, with to include the healthcare HRA benefit, and did I leave it? I think I got it.
Oh, I thought it was 3.
No, it's supposed to.
Okay.
So that's my motion, that we hire Danielle to be the planning, building, and zoning person.
Is there a second? Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay. Carrie, you can't take the roll call, Daniel. Carrie.
Thank you, Danielle.
Patty Back,
Yes.
Shelley Kidd,
Yes.
Gina Musarelli,
Yes.
Bob DiPalma.
Yes. Okay, next one is, Patty, that's yours too.
Yes, Teresa has been enrolled in the MTA governance program, and she came to me a couple weeks ago and had asked, or let me know that in March, the online classes are gonna be half off. So she asked if she could sign up and take 2, and she has a year to complete them in. And the half price cost for both of them would be $248.50 versus the regular $489. So I'd like to make a motion that we let Teresa take the online classes for the MTA governance program.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? Carrie, we just take the roll call, because there's 2 for that too.
Shelley Kidd,
Yes.
Gina Musarelli,
Yes.
Bob DiPalma,
Yes.
Patty Back.
Yes.
Okay. If I can just ask one question here, I know in the package that I got tonight, there was this proclamation for April, that's not for tonight's agenda, is it, because it's not on there?
Yeah.
The child abuse thing, isn't it? I didn't see it.
Child abuse,
That's for
discuss Oakland County child abuse.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, okay. Never mind. Okay,
That's a resolution.
yep, I'm sorry. Okay, next item, Jay, I think, Shelley, that's
I
yours.
have a question.
Yeah.
The classes that Teresa wants to take, will she get like a certification or what is that involving?
She'll get, I went through that program, and it's actually the Township Governance Academy. And yes, you take classes, there's no, what do I want to say, time criteria. You can start them, and if it takes you 5 or 6 years, you know, you can just take them here and there at your leisure. Or now it's easier. They have them online. When I went back in '09, you had to actually go somewhere. They do hold a lot of them in Frankenmuth, and she will have a TGA Governance Academy certificate when she's done. And it covers all different types of things in government for townships. Okay?
Here's another question. Now, are classes available to all of the staff that do duties within the office? Like, if they want to take a certain class to help their position or whatever, like,
There
is that
are
open
classes-
to all of them?
There are classes from time to time for pretty much any position. Generally speaking, if somebody is new to a position, the MTA puts those classes on at the annual MTA sessions. So if somebody's a new trustee or a new supervisor or a new clerk, they can usually take some of those classes at the MTA annual convention. And then periodically throughout the year, they put a lot of them on. But it, I don't know that there's a
Well, it's
real
like-
finite
Yeah,
schedule
there's,
for them, other than they generally do a lot of them every year.
There's a big one at the end of April.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, and there's a lot of stuff I'd love to learn about it, but it didn't make sense for me to sign up for it this year. If I'm here next year, then I will definitely go to it. But yeah, the MTA's been very helpful in answering. a lot
I
of
was just
questions.
curious if that opportunity was available to anybody that works within the office.
For pretty much any position, there's some kind
Yeah.
of training that's available, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Do you, here's another question, I'm sorry. Do you have to be an employee of the township to take those classes?
I don't know, you'd have to ask
You have to
them.
pay extra if you're not, I believe.
Yeah, I would guess. I mean, they're designed for municipal employees.
'Cause you're a
If you
member.
can take them without being an employee, I don't know. You probably have to ask the people putting the class on if you could go there.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Sean?
Yes. I want to bring up the deputy treasurer position. I received an email a few weeks ago, or a memo, and apparently I misunderstood it. Bob and I spoke this morning, and I wanted to clarify that Nicole was able to come in and help me with duties and what I feel that she would need to do. And he was trying to explain that it was for the $50 stipend. So we came to agreement with that. But I had a couple questions afterwards that I would like to also make sure that she is able to take any classes that may be needed to benefit the position. And then also for me to be able to sign her up for, to be able to get into the county programs via the username and passwords for the different programs that she would have to use to perform the
I
functions that
don't
I
have
need
any,
for.
having a problem signing her up for access to the program.
Okay. But what about is any classes that I may find that she?
Typically in classes, we bring them up like you did tonight.
Oh, well, no, yeah, but that's what I'm saying, I just wanted to make sure that that is available.
Okay. All right, is that it?
Yep, that was it.
All right. Patty, you got one you want to ask for, item K?
Oh yes, the MAMC 2020, I almost forgot about that. Annual conference is coming up in June, and I would like to attend, and there's a lot of stuff on not legislation, elections, and Secretary of State Benson. Is it?
Put a skill in the water.
Don't worry
Did you
about
get
it back there. Anyway, it is from June 8th to June 12th. I've got to take a closer look at this. I wouldn't need to go for the whole time. I think I would go Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday and come back. So it'd be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 3 nights, 2 nights. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 2 to 3 nights. And the cost of the conference was $350. And I do have it within my budget, so
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that the clerk goes to the annual conference for the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks 2020.
I would second that.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? Carrie, would you take a roll call?
Gina Musarelli,
Yes.
Bob DiPalma,
Yes.
Patty Back,
Yes.
Shelley Kidd.
Yes,
Okay. And Shelley, you got one too, I think.
Yeah.
for this advance.
and it's going along with, as Patty said, I would like to go to the Advanced Institute, which I've gone to for the last couple of years. It's a great networking, a lot of great education. It is for 4 days, 3 nights. I'd like to include the meals and mileage. And it is from, I didn't write it down, I should have. It's $325 to attend the class, and I do find it very beneficial.
Okay, you got it in your budget.
And I have it in my budget.
Okay, is that your motion?
That is my motion. I'd like
Okay,
to-
sure, okay.
Yes.
Is there a second to the motion?
Support.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? Now, Carrie, would you take a roll call?
Bob DiPalma,
Yes?
Patty Back,
Yes.
Shelley Kidd,
Yes.
Gina Musarelli.
Yes.
Okay, here's the one where I jumped the gun a little bit. This is, the next one is under resolutions, it's for Oakland County. This is, they want to declare April Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. The county sends these out periodically through the year for different good things, kind of like apple pie and mother, you know, there's stuff you want to support. And that's really what one of these is. It's for, you know, hopefully preventing child abuse and making people aware of it. So I would make a motion that we approve and adopt for April the county's proclamation to have it the Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month.
Support.
Okay, is there any other questions or comments from the board? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, okay.
Can I ask what that means, besides just the resolution?
It's just this show of support
Support.
from the municipalities. The
Involves
county sends these
no
out.
other materials
No,
or
it doesn't.
education for the community?
No, there might be stuff that the county puts on, a lot of times on their website they have it, but they send these out always to all the municipalities, just as a show of united support.
And that's Care House. They've done a lot of talking at several meetings I've been at and so forth this past year, so they're a pretty good program.
No, Patty, I don't have anything else, just investment.
Yeah, this is
policy.
the investment policy. Now, we
Appendix
brought
is
this
added.
up and Shelley
Yeah.
brought it in December. And
Oh,
we
for
did
the-
discuss it
Yes,
and we
for
all
the-
said, okay. However, going back looking through the minutes, I noticed that it did not there wasn't like a motion and then have it approved, because this is gonna update our investment policy. So we really needed to update the resolution, make a motion, have a support, and then, a roll call vote.
That's also adding on the Waterford.
Yes, that's what brought this up. Yes, it was the Clarkston State Waterford Bank now, is that correct?
Well, they're two different, but they merge together.
They were,
So,
yeah.
but they
Okay.
still use their own entity names though.
But they still show up on your report, right, for ratings and stuff?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, I run them both.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
that's a motion?
So, yeah, my motion is that we support the update in the resolution 2020-09 to include Clarkston, is it State Waterford Bank? Or
No,
just
it's Clarkston State
Waterford?
Bank, and then also there's what, but
Right.
it's kind of like
Okay,
the
so it's,
joint venture.
it's
divisions
Clarkston
of the same
Waterford,
entity.
Correct.
Waterford
Correct.
Bank. That's what I have, so.
Yes.
Okay, Clarkston Waterford Bank.
And what makes me, I received my statements coming from the Clarkston State Bank. So that's what brought the attention to Pat. He said, okay, because I was going to switch it over, because they did merge. I was like, well, they're still using the old name. So we're keeping both.
We also needed it to be in line with the appropriations act.
So that was your
My
motion?
motion.
I will say.
Second?
Yes.
Any questions or comments from the board? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it's accepted. Next is the miscellaneous reports. I can tell you from the supervisor's perspective, Kevin and I and Jim have been working on the fire station. We met with an architect, had some discussion. He sent us some information back, I think it was last Thursday. And Kevin and I had some discussion this morning. We want to see if we can tweak some of that stuff, but we're getting closer. As far as that goes, the other item is the sewer. I'm waiting for the meeting to find out when we're going to have all the interested parties to see if we can actually button down any of the costs further on the sewer project. As I told you before, every meeting I've gone to, it's gone up several millions of dollars. And both the supervisor and Holly and I have made it clear that there is no way that either Holly Township or Groveland Township's going to go on the hook for something like $5 or $6 million bond without having it covered. So they're aware of that. And what the Water Resource Commissioner is trying to do is get the various property owners along the strip to meet with us, because there is a methodology where you can sit down and say, here's how many, the way they size the pipelines is what they call REUs, residential equivalent units. It's kind of a way of saying, does this business represent the same thing as 50 houses, if you will? And they have formulas they use for all of that. We're going to have to go to the parties that are along that Dixie Byway that have said, we want to have the sewer line, we think it's great, and we're going to have to tell them, and are you willing to pay for it now? Because that's the only way I think we're going to be able to come up with the actual dollars. So there's a process going on where we have to finalize what it is. Oakland County did agree to spend the money themselves to pay for the engineering analysis to size this. So that's good. We don't have to pay for that first stage. But we've got to get parties involved in it to figure out whether or not it's really doable or not for us. So that hasn't happened yet. And the other thing is I went to the Brandon Youth Appreciation Lunch the other day at the library in Brandon. It was very nice. They had a couple of people that are the social workers as the guest speakers talking about the programs that they use and how they try and help the kids in a number of things. It was really quite positive and very nice. So it is every year. That's all I have for this month's report. Anything, Patty, that you want to do?
Yeah, I was gonna say the Brandon Groveland Youth Assistance Breakfast, and then, they're gonna have their Flower Day at Wojo's Saturday, May 30th, and Sunday, May 31st. And, yeah, well, it's really, but
Find your plants that
it's
day.
later or after. But anyway, 10% of all the proceeds go to support the Brandon Groveland Youth Assistance, and you have to ask or let them know at the register when you go up there. So I'll make a few of these flyers, put on the counter, and have them at next week's or next month's meeting. Also, the election is coming, but it will be here tomorrow. And by tomorrow at this time, the election will be over. So come on and vote.
And the important thing to remember is it's not just a primary.
No.
It's also the opportunity, if you watch the current video, to vote on whether or not you want to renew the Detroit Art Institute's 2/10 of a mil tax. And this is your only chance to vote on that, okay? It's not like it'll be again in the fall. It's now, tomorrow or never. And the other one is the school bond for .83 mils that they've asked for various maintenance and changes that they want to make. And again, that's not coming back again in the fall, that you vote on it tomorrow or not at all. So we just want people to realize that that's happening now. The other thing I probably should mention is the August primary has our new fire village will be on there.
Right.
So, and that's the only time to vote on that. And the last one that I had in the video that's currently running said the RTA Transit Authority request was going to be in November, but I'm happy to say that the extensive efforts of our state senator, Ruth Johnson, and a whole bunch of municipal entities. I mean, our township, granted, every township and city north of M59 and almost every one of them on the west side of the county have all en masse adopted the various resolutions like we did, saying we do not support the RTA bill unless there's an opt-out for communities like ours that would get absolutely nothing out of it. And what they did was they took the original RTA bill about, I think it's a week ago now, and killed it, I think, on a Wednesday. And then on Thursday, they put lipstick on the pig and gave it a new number and said, this is the new RTA, but it was, believe me, just as bad as the other one. And so everybody in unison was making calls and news releases and stuff, and it killed. So now, if you see it on my video, it says it's going to be in November. We don't think that's going to happen. It looks like it's dead for now. I'm not saying they won't ever try and bring it back, but it looks like, in large part, I have to say, Ruth Johnson has done an outstanding job in leading the fight against that. And so, and virtually all of the OCAT supervisors and everybody else we could think of we ever talked to all jumped on the bandwagon. So if you think it doesn't make a difference, it does. And just think about this. We have had the RTA bill that they tried to jam down our throat twice, okay, and we've stopped that. They have been working for some time on that 10 kids versus 6 in those foster care facilities. And as far as I know, that still hasn't gone through. We've been holding off on that one. Then we had the mining ordinance that I've been up and testified on too. And that one looks like we're holding off on that too. They were ready to go on that. And with the efforts of all the townships that testified and the Michigan Townships Association, we have been able to hold that off too. So I'm actually feeling like there's some substantial benefit to testifying up in front of the Senate committees and the House of Representative committees, to citizens making phone calls to their local legislators to make sure that they know they do not support those activities. It's not over yet, and a lot of them can be brought back, but our efforts have paid off. I think I've made 4 trips to Lansing in the last month and a half doing stuff. So keep the faith, it's working. And the RTA was a big one. That would have been a significant amount of money. The most conservative estimate I saw on it would have been that over the 20-year life of the process, the RTA millage for just Groveland Township, not the whole county, just Groveland, would have been $9.6 million in new tax dollars out of just Groveland Township taxpayers for a system that would have given us absolutely zero, okay? Now, the last discussion I heard on the one where they put the lipstick on it, okay, they were talking about doing twice that amount of money, okay? So if you think this stuff doesn't happen, there's a whole litany of, Ruth wrote a beautiful email letter that I got this morning, probably a lot of you saw it, where they outline part of what they think they're doing is the city of Detroit has huge financial problems from when they filed bankruptcy. And some of those costs they were giving an abatement time on to say, you don't have to do anything with this for a few years, okay? We'll give you X amount of years to get, and that time is coming up. This RTA bill looked like it was going to allow them to take a lot of those like unfunded pension obligations, those shortfalls on their costs for the queue line and the people mover and move that into this, because one of the things that was in the RTA was this law was going to basically allow them to completely circumvent the municipal existing state laws that cap how much money you can tax in a community. So it goes completely over the Headley Amendment and lets them raise it by up to 5 mils. And you can see with what they were trying to put in there, 1.5 to 3 mils, that's like the starting point. Once you get it in, then they jack it up. And the irony of it was, they know there's not much support in Oakland County, and they know there's like zero support in Macomb County. So when it died in 2016, then when they came out in 2019, they just left Macomb out of it. And then they changed the law and said, you don't have to have all 3 counties approve it. You only need 2 of the 3 counties. So they knew that if Washtenaw and Wayne County approved it, we were going to have to pay for it anyway, even if we voted it down. It's the most blatantly bad piece of legislation I've ever seen in 24 years here. But we persevered on it, and I know Ruth did just an absolutely first-class job on it. So if you happen to talk to her, or you ever email her or call her, I'm sure she'd love to hear from you that you think she did a great job, because she really put her heart and soul into that. So that's all I wanted to add on that. I'm sorry, couldn't help it. It's just such a sore spot with it.
If you're a voter in Goodrich, there is a May 5th Goodrich election. You'll be receiving a postcard from us shortly after tomorrow.
School district?
Yeah, Goodrich schools, they're gonna have a Goodrich school bond on it. And it will tell you which precinct to go to vote. However, if someone in Goodrich needs to register, they'll still need to come here to register to vote. And we will be open on that Saturday before the election for anyone who needs an AV ballot or wants to be registered to vote. And we are going to send AV ballots out from here, and then they'll be delivered over to Katie Dick over at Goodrich, the clerk there. I had a gal come, she's 16, her name is Gina, and she goes to, I can't think of the name of the school off the top of my head, down on Woodward there in Birmingham, Roper. So she needed to have some experience. She lives in Groveland Township, and she needed some experience in a government local office. And it's been fun to have her here. She came the one day, and she'll be in tomorrow to see how the election goes. She has to do 12 hours in order to graduate. So she seemed to really enjoy it. Her mom called, and her dad came in. So
Maybe it was in here the other day?
yeah,
Okay.
yes, it was. And I was glad we could help her out. A lot of kids more kids need to do that when they're young. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. Planning Commission. You're on BZA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Planning Commission, March 24th. The ORV, Shields Road, is going to be on there.
Yeah.
So I want
If you have nothing-
that to be known.
If you have nothing better to do, I'll tell you exactly what it is. In order to allow that little 1/10 of a mile of Fields Road that's off of Dixie Highway at the entry sign to the ORV park there, to have ORVs on it, the state allows you to adopt a resolution to allow ORVs to ride on public roads. But obviously, you don't want them out here on all the roads here, because people will get killed. What we want to do is be able to get from the township's property on the old Warden Road that runs behind Consumers to that little stub, Shields Road, and go about, I think it's about 300 feet into the entry gate on an ORV without violating the law. So Patty sent out, there's a process you have to go where you send a notice to every single municipality in the county so they can show up to ask questions or, I guess, complain
They're
about it
aware
or
of it.
whatever. I doubt anybody will be there. This has been done more commonly up north where they do allow off-road vehicles on some of the roads up there, or in Lapeer, they have 2 or 3 roads that they allow them to go on. The only road we want to allow it on is that little tiny stub road that runs Shields Road off of Dixie from that entry gate to where it goes to the old Warden Road. It's a few hundred feet, so that if we have something on the township property, those people will be able to access the ORV park without ever going out on the Dixie Highway or Grange Hall Road or any of those other potential traffic problems, but that's what the meeting is for.
And one last thing I want to say, thank you to Kevin. The firefighters came today, as they are always help us out with our election equipment, getting it moved around, and it was a great help. It is always a great
Thank you.
help. So thank you, Kevin.
I'll let
And
them know.
thank you to them.
Yep, I'll let them know.
Thank you. That's it, I'm done now.
Okay, did you want to do anything about an interview date? I have a note down here from her.
Oh, we talked about it.
We don't have to do that, I guess, at the meeting, right, but if you, unless you
Yeah.
don't know when you want to do it yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I was kind of gonna see what happens after tomorrow.
Okay.
Maybe we'll,
Okay, we can bring it up then.
yeah.
Shelley, did you want to do anything on treasurer's report?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'm working on the settlement, so far that's going well. If anybody is having difficulties paying their taxes, behind, going into foreclosure, get a hold of me.
But find out when it got off the website.
I don't know, it was on our webpage and was that on the sign. But contact me and I can give you the information to get a hold of the Oakland County Treasurer. They are setting up payments, so that, trying to keep you in your home, so.
Okay. It's up, and somehow that link was on our website and said it disappeared, right?
Yes.
I don't know, I will have Brent look into it.
Yeah, it was there and out there, so I don't know what happened.
It's in email heaven, so everything else gets lost, right?
I saw.
Okay, anything, BZA? Okay. Shelley, anything for Hyatt?
Yes, I got quite a bit.
I'm sorry.
There was 39 referrals last month. 27 males, 12 female. 21 of them was from the school, and 16 of the referrals were from the police, and 2 from others, and 0 from parents. School incorrigibility, 16. Drug and alcohol, 10. School attendance, 2. Without going through them all, there is a really strong need for mentors. They really need some more help in there. They're desperate. And then also Holly Police Department added another resource officer to put it into their middle school.
Oh, really?
Yes. And it's not for, it's trying to show commodity, that they can come to them and, you know, they're not the bad guy. So, little mentor there, or in the high
I
school
think he
and junior.
uses retired police officers for that.
No.
No?
No.
He's using a regular? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, changed it.
Yeah, the police chief was at the meeting this past Thursday. And then also there was 440 backpack requests, which that jumped up quite tremendously. And we're needing donations for that.
So, I'm on the North Oakland County Board of Realtors membership committee,
Mhm.
and we are actually meeting tomorrow morning to do our spring community project, and we've been talking about backpacks for kids.
Okay.
So I would really like to take whatever you have with me in the morning
Oh,
for that.
as far as what do I have?
The numbers.
And the
Oh, the
contact numbers,
Oh, okay, because I was
if
going
I
to say
can
I
go
don't
there
have the
with
supplies.
most information I can have when I go there,
Okay.
then, you know, but we want to do something with.
Oh,
kids.
absolutely, that would be wonderful.
So,
Awesome, thank you.
Good.
And then I got just a couple more things. April 16th is the Hyatt Annual Banquet. And then also April 24th is Trivia Night fundraiser at the Holly Vault. And the theme is going to be all things Michigan, so gives everybody a good opportunity to win. And then also May 1st is the Holly High School Award Assembly from 12 to 2. You know, if you want to show up and show the kids some support on the great job that they're doing. And then also May 1st, that evening, is Ladies Night Out, which is another fundraiser to help her on Hyatt.
Yeah, good stuff.
That's it. Yep.
Anything from BGYA other than the lunch we had?
Well, they had the breakfast, and then they're working on their awards program too. It would be, is it April 30th? I'm gonna pick my card up before I came.
Yes, it is.
That's what I
received
thought.
that.
I thought it was April 30th. And they normally meet tomorrow, but due to the election, we'll meet next on the 17th. So that's about all I have. And the flower thing.
Okay, before we close and move to the fire board, any questions or comments? Okay, and if not, motion to adjourn and reconvene for the fire board.
Motion to adjourn and reconvene to the fire
Is
board.
there a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Kevin, the meeting's yours.
All right, thank you. For February, we had 75 calls. Last year, we had 88, and the year before that was 86, so about in the same ballpark. It was a slow year for Mount Holly. They didn't do much this year.
They didn't have as much snow, I think, which hurts them. And then, didn't they move that one trail where people were colliding all the time? They had a system where they moved one of their tracks out of the road because
We have a lot
Kept
more,
on
we
hitting
put a
the
lot of
other people.
signage out now. Being part of the ski patrol, one of our morning duties is putting out the signs. And you go out with a big cordless drill with a cement bit. There's a lot of trails merging, slow,
yeah, they were
various signs.
hitting each other there or something, weren't they? Last year.
But one thing I think has changed the game a lot is the helmet usage.
Oh, really? They require it now?
It's not required, but
I'm more
there's,
used it.
Highly encouraged.
and it's so much more common now than it was 10 years ago.
Good.
And every time I go pick up a patient with a concussion, I always, so did you wear a helmet? And they always say no. I was like, huh. I've only taken one out of there that wore a helmet that had a concussion. So,
They actually do work.
yeah. Usually it's on the snowboard trail too where they get the concussion.
Against the snow.
So that puts our total at 147 for February 29th, which is down from last year, 168 for last year, but still around 75 calls a month is pretty good
When
for
you
us.
say 140, you're going from what date then?
From January 1st to February 29th.
Okay.
We had two companies come out Saturday. We're looking at putting in for a grant for some new jaws. Because the ones we have are probably, I don't know exactly, they're at least 15 years old. And if you've seen them, I know Bob has seen them, we have a big hydraulic power pack that you have to take out of the truck and hook up the hoses and things. So it's very time consuming. And, with the new battery technology, new motor technology, we wanted to see what's out there. So we had in, Hearst came in and Amcus, and we have Genesis coming in on the 21st at 9 o'clock. Board members like to attend, you're welcome to attend. And they showed us all the new, Saturday the 21st at 9. So they showed us all the new equipment that's out there, and I got one quote, a double quote so far from Hearst. I have not got one from Amcus, but talking to them, they were saying a full system would be about $30,000. And I did not get that from Amcus. And then for a combination tool from Hearst, it was going to be $11,500. Amcus told me it'd be about $9,500. And I,
But the products were different.
yeah, but I don't have, from the third company yet, and that's your new resolution says we have to get 3. But anyway, we have some end of year money that I have to get approved to spend at this meeting because obviously the next meeting will be next year. So looking at it, and we have not discussed it amongst the officers, all of the officers yet, but I'd like to get 2 of the combination units so we could put one in each ambulance, or if it doesn't fit very well in there, one in each engine.
But you want the Hearst ones because they worked better than the other.
Right now, I haven't seen the Genesis, so I wanted to see what they like. So, and then we're still going to put in for the grant, see if we can get that, but that's going to take at least a year for that to come through. But the advantages of the battery ones is, one, they're very powerful, a lot better than what we saw 2 years ago. And we even had Megan Adderholt, who's probably 90 pounds, with her gear on. She picked up the tools and was using them also. I got video if you don't believe me. And so she was even able to grab those tools and do it. And I'm sure Jerm would back me up on this. There's lots of times where if we had a quick, convenient set of tools that we could just, let's say, pop the hood rather than, well, I'm not going to get the jaws out just to pop the hood because you have to take the power pack out and everything else. But you could just go in there real quick with a set of battery-operated jaws to pop the hood. It'd be a lot easier rather than us wrenching on it with a Halligan bar. They've had them for 10 years now down there. The rep that came works for them, and he says they're excellent. We got a listing, and this is for the Hearst tool. I got a listing of probably 90 departments in the state that's using them, so. I would like
Does
to,
anybody around here have them? Yeah.
Springfield doesn't it? I have the list, I could look at, I think Springfield was on the list, they just bought them like 2 years ago, I think. Again, the tool I'm looking at right now is $11,500. I would just like to earmark, and there's no decision yet, $30,000 from our end of the year budget to, up to $30,000, I guess I should say, to purchase 2 tools. Obviously, if we just buy the Hearst ones, it'd be $23,000. And we may only buy one, I don't know. I'll have to discuss with the other officers, see what they think. But I'm also thinking this would be good if we threw it in the four-wheel drive Amos, if we have to go out to the ORV park and, you know, maybe just,
Somebody's roll bar
right,
pushed out of the.
just cut them very easily. And now, the combination tools aren't as good as the main tools, as you all know. If you're gonna have a tool do 2 things, it's not as good as one tool, but we do have the other Amcus tools on the trucks. And if we have to bring those down there, that's fine. But lots of times it's just a simple cut. And as you know, it doesn't happen very often, but let's say if the car was on fire, you know, we want to get those people out of that car as fast as possible. Sometimes it's just a quick cut and you can get them out of there. And these new tools, especially the Hearst tools, they don't have the problem where we had, where it's you got to take several bites to get enough traction in there to get the door open. These things just throw them in there and it just seemed like to rip them out. So I would like approval to spend up to $30,000 out of the end of the year budget to purchase the 2 combination tools. Now, by the way, there's 3 different combination tools, but they all cost the same. So there's a small, medium, and large. And I would probably ask for a large and a medium.
And what are you gonna do with the old one?
Those will stay on the truck. These I want to add to the ambulance so that,
If you go out in a car accident. or
right.
something.
Now, the engine does show up, but if you only have 2 people there, one in the engine, one in the ambulance, you know, it still would be, you'd have to basically stop patient care to go get the power pack out because it takes 2 people to get it to this position and
So
whatnot.
there's cameras on the ones that are hydraulic now, they got a pump of somebody, got
Yeah.
to lug out with it.
It's basically
These
a
ones
generator.
have
You
got-
bring the
Yeah.
size of a generator.
These ones have bad, kind of like a weed whacker
Yeah.
concept.
I was just curious if he wasn't gonna be using anymore, you know, if that could be something that could be sold.
Oh, no, we would
Yeah.
still plan on using
So
it. It's
you're
just,
gonna-
this would be in addition to what we have.
Okay.
And we also have, on engine 3 and ladder 1, we have some ancient, as a matter of fact, Jeremy was there when we had them, tools. So if we ever had to take one of those out, we could move it over to one of those.
You're old.
I'm older than he is, but he was there a lot longer than I was, before I was.
Line item, you want that on?
We'll probably take it out of reserve, just to make it easy. And again, I don't know if we'll buy 1, 2, or none, but we'll talk about it.
You want a motion though for up to
Up to
$30,000
$30,000.
for a Jaws Elect acquisition?
And it would be out of our, basically be out of the, whatever we have left over.
I'll make a motion that we approve up to $30,000 to come out of the fire department's end-of-year reserves for the purpose of acquiring 2 additional Jaws of Life units that are now electric battery pack.
I support.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Okay, Carrie, would you take a roll call?
Patty Back,
Yes.
Shelley Kidd,
Yes.
Gina Musarelli, Bob DiPalma.
Yes.
As you know, or maybe you don't know, but ladder 1 went out of service about 2 weeks ago now. We found that the harmonic balancer on the camshaft was broken, and we found what we thought was fuel in the oil. Lieutenant Nicholson worked on that, changed the oil, doesn't seem to be any fuel in it, so we don't know why it was overfilled. And he changed the balancer today, and that's back in service. We'll be looking at that closely, make sure. I was concerned that maybe if there was fuel in the oil, that it may have washed the bearings out and damaged them, but he said he didn't find any fuel in there, so we think we saved loss of a ladder on that. And we did talk to the inspector of the ladder. He's gone independent now, the guy who's done it, so we'll be using him this year. instead of
Oh.
his parent company, and they're happy with it. He did all the stuff anyway, so. And we did we did get the pump in to do the hose testing, and I talked to the gentleman that does the ladder testing, and he says he can test our ladders, because the hose testers also did the ladders. But-
Oh, okay.
So I think we're okay with
So
that.
next year we'll be in much better shape for getting this on,
I
but,
think so.
yeah, okay.
Did you get the extractor? Did you get anything?
Yes, we got the extractor
Okay,
in
good.
too, I'm sorry, I forgot to
Okay.
say that.
I meant
It
to
hasn't been
ask you.
installed yet, but it's,
All right, it's there.
we got it.
Okay, good.
I think that's all I have. Any questions?
Any questions from the audience?
I have one question.
Sure.
So this discussion about the new station, I'm just a little concerned because 2 months ago, the board was wanting to merge our department with North Oakland because we couldn't sustain our fire department on our own. And now we're talking about building a whole new station.
We've talked about building a whole station for about 2 years, really.
And in
Okay.
2 years, the topic of merging our
But that
department,
never eliminated the discussion for the second.
I don't feel the taxpayers' money is, and we just dump, the taxpayers just use their money to dump into renovations into Station 1. So when they did all that updating on Station 1, they added on to the living quarters and
Yeah, that
the
was quite a
roof.
while ago.
That was,
That was many years ago.
And
about 10 years
it's
ago.
still,
The building is about, best as I can tell, I think it's 60 or 70 years old. It has at least, I think at least
3?
4 or 5 different heating systems in
Oh,
it.
yeah.
It's extremely inefficient and the utilities on it are astronomical compared to the other building.
so is the
And-
plan to build a new station and still cut personnel from the fire department?
The plan is to build a new station and let Chief Mason implement his plan to see if it will work the way we think it will going forward, but we'll still have 2 stations. And the station shouldn't cost us any out-of-pocket money because I'm confident Station 1 will fully cover the cost of the new building.
The sale of Station 1?
Now, how would that work? Would we sell Station 1 and the property and then start building, but keeping Station 1 open during construction?
The way it's most likely to go is that the new station would be completely built before the old one's vacated. If that's what you're asking.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, just.
Yeah, I have no intention of moving all that gear hither and yon and trying to figure out how to house it. The whole intention is to try and get the new one completely done.
So the new Station 1 would open on Monday and old Station 1 would close on Tuesday?
Potentially.
Pretty much.
Essentially.
Essentially,
Yeah.
okay.
That's been the plan all along.
Because I know that was a misunderstanding and a misinterpretation from a lot of the residents, that they were under the impression that Station 1 was going to be sold, torn down,
No.
and then they were going to start on the new station.
Again, I don't know how that happened. We never
Yeah.
talked about tearing the station down. If somebody buys it, tears it down, I don't know what they would do after, but I don't,
Right, but
I
we'll
find
get
it
the new
unlikely that
station
they would
if
tear it
they
down.
raise that
The
building,
new station would go where, in that
at the
field?
Mavis building,
Correct.
yeah,
kind of at the end of the road there.
yeah.
Yeah, we've never anticipated tearing, the old building's built like a tank, I can only imagine tearing that down, but.
So is the new station gonna fulfill the needs of what our fire department needs?
I think so, yeah.
Because, I mean, I know right now, there's apparatuses that can't be put into Station 1, they have to be over at Station 2, and we have storage facilities, or storage containers over at Station 2.
The
we
storage
can't-
containers are only there because they're gonna end up being moved for that.
Right, that's what I'm
one.
saying, we have
Except for
storage
winter use and
containers
stuff.
that are holding access equipment because we don't have the availability for it. That's why I'm saying, like, if we're gonna do this, we need to make sure that new station fulfills the needs.
My plan would be to put the ladder over at Station 1, have 2 ambulances there, a tanker, and an engine at least.
So all
and
the
a
vehicles
brush truck.
plus, so all the vehicles basically at Station 1, including the ladder.
Correct. And if we got a second engine, used engine, I would plan on putting it there also. So we'd have 2 engines at 2, 2 engines at 1, 2 ambulances, a brush truck at each, and a tanker at each.
Size-wise, would the new Station 1 be comparable to Station 2?
No.
Not that big, no.
Okay.
And once we clear out stuff and move it to the other station, there's a lot more room at Station 2 now. Obviously, you pull the ladder out, I mean, that's a lot.
It's huge, yeah, yeah.
Any other questions?
And the reason we put ladder 1 at 1 is the taller buildings are up by Station 1, obviously.
Well, if you put it in Station 1 over there, with the ladder truck, you peel the ladder off the truck.
Oh, yeah, no, it won't go in there
Oh,
now.
yeah, no.
And the doors would be bigger. We have about
The
this much
bottom would,
clearance.
the bottom would be uphill.
Yeah. Yeah, and we don't have to make sure the tanker is full of water to get it in or out of the bay.
Right.
Keep in mind, Station 1 was originally a Kaiser Fraser dealer.
If you didn't catch that, Joe, tanker 1, if it's not full of water, when it goes over the ramp, the tail end of the, back end of the tanker will hit the pipes and plumbing above it and rip it out. So you gotta make sure it's full of water before you pull it out, or back again.
And we had the custom order because.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? If not, motion to adjourn is in order. Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody.